Welcome to Subramani. I'm going to talk to you about interest rates and retiree cash flow. See, what happens is you should be looking for a return which is real return. So return minus the nominal return, which is the return which is stated, minus inflation, minus taxes is the real return. So what you're getting today in say a PPF at 7 or 7.15 or 6.75, whatever the range in which you are getting, minus inflation which is impacting you could be about 7%. So you are already getting negative return even though the PPF is tax free. So what happens is, unfortunately, what people remember is the nominal rate. So you meet some of the older people today, they'll tell you, oh, those days we used to get 12% return in PPF. Completely true. PPF returns were 12%, but then inflation was also 12%, so you were getting zero return or perhaps negative return. It is only since 2014, and that has nothing to do with Narendra Modi, more to do with Raghuram Rajan, that interest rates in India were not so bad. It was not so bad in the sense that rates were less, but inflation was brought under control. So in the 1970s, and I don't blame just the government of India, because that was the time of the oil price hike, OPEC 1973. And those were the things which were holding interest rates high. So interest rates were high all over the world. Even US had high inflation and high interest rates. I mean, I remember 2000, I mean, it must have been 1980s when the interest rates in US was about 18%. I mean, I'm not joking, about 15 to 18% on the treasury. Now it is down to 1.8, so if that's what is called the 40-year bull run in interest rates, right? So the bond prices should have gone up. If you had held a 45-year US government security in 1980, you must have you had a very, very long party, right? In terms of appreciation, today of course the bond must have matured. What am I talking about today is not that, but mentally be prepared for lower and lower interest rates if inflation is lower. I am not sure whether inflation is lower, so maybe interest rates will go up in India, but internationally if interest rates are lower, then some money will find its way into India saying it's okay to get a lesser rate in spite of inflation, so some money might come in. But assuming for a minute that interest rates are inflation is at 6-7%, then interest rates have to go up, especially on PPF and other things. The problem again is it's very political. Government of India wants cheap money, so they will not increase it. Unfortunately or fortunately, today I'm not going to talk about that. I'm talking more about retiree cash flow. Largely, middle class India, which is retiring today, which is anywhere between 55 to 70, is brought up on the notion that you should live only on your income. You should not touch your capital, which is true to a great extent, because if you live till 95, you want your cash flow to last till 95, not till 94, right? Not even till 94 and a half. Last 6 months, what will you do? So we have been cautioned, we have been scared, we have to believe that we have to live within our income. Like for example, I decided sometime in the year 2000 that I could retire based on my dividend income. But believe me, till today I have not touched my dividends. My dividends are getting replowed into my investments, because I always had current income which is greater than my current expenses. And I think that will continue for another 5-6 years. So by the time I touch my then I'll start touching my dividend, and I don't think in my lifetime I will need to touch my principal. I mean, God willing. Having said that, how should retirees plan for their expenses? So we have all seen so many articles. You must have seen so many articles, podcasts, blogs. Talking about why it is okay for you to withdraw 6% of your capital if you are in a country like India, which is true. But what about those people who may not have enough to withdraw only from the income, and they also have to withdraw from the capital? By all means, you should. Because it is important that you keep your money in separate buckets. So bucket number 1 is liquid money, which is available for you to spend without having to worry about volatility. Now that can create cash flow. Another important cash flow that can be what you can have is some pension which your company is giving you, or an annuity which you have bought when you were 60 or 65. So those are the cash flows which you will anyway touch, and that is coming partially from the capital that you had employed, because the annuity, the whole thing is partly capital and partly the income that the interest that you are getting out of it. So that is anyway coming. Systematic withdrawal plan from your equity fund is a lot of sensible way to take money out, especially when the market is high, and believe me, today the market is high. So right now, if you are a retired person and you're 65, 66, doing a systematic withdrawal plan from equity makes sense. Stop that systematic withdrawal plan only when the market tanks. If the market falls 10% or 15%, let's say the Sensex is today 58,000, around till you reach about 53,000, don't bother. You just continue your SWP from an equity fund. Don't do it from your debt fund. At some stage, if the market falls to 53,000, then stop doing your SWP from your equity fund. Start doing it from your debt fund. Please understand, given our statutory, legal and taxation position, it does not make any sense to have a dividend option. So if you have a dividend option anywhere stuck which you don't remember, pick up your NSGL statement or your CDSL statement, see which mutual fund you have under the dividend option. Just convert all that into growth option, right? Consider tax, but yes, do that. That is very important. Remember, what you need in your retired life is cash flow, not necessarily income, right? So some money can come from income, some money can come from your capital. It should not bother you for a year or two if money comes out of your capital, and after that you start withdrawing again from your. The current conditions are quite bad for persons trying to live only off interest income, because interest rates are low, and interest rates are low in US, and interest rates are very low even in India, because you need to consider that inflation today is perhaps greater than 7%. So what should you do? First of all, the easiest thing for people to do, especially for retirees, is to call me up and say, sir, this Shriram Transport bonds are available at 9%, India Infoline bonds are available at 9.15%, and these bonds have so many. So please don't go down the risk line to improve your returns. Edelweiss also came out with some kind of a bond at 9 or 10%, whatever. Make sure that you don't go down too much on the quality, right? So when you don't go down on quality, you're risking your principal. That is some of the worst kind of risk that you can take ever with your portfolio. Don't do that. Don't take that kind of a risk. Stick to very good quality, especially during times which are difficult. So recurrence of COVID, Omicron, whatever, and suddenly you will find poor quality stocks, poor quality bonds and debentures vanishing, not giving you enough liquidity. So whatever it is, if there is no liquidity, it is as good as your money is gone, because if you can't get your money when you need it, that is just bad luck. So don't go down the quality line. That's the easiest thing to do, because you say, oh, I'm getting 7% or 6% in the bank, I'm getting 9.5% here. Believe me, 9.5% is very high, because it is 50% more than what State Bank of India is giving you. So look at it as a percentage of what State Bank is giving you. If the State Bank of India 3-year deposit is at 6% and somebody is giving you 9%, it is high. If the bank interest that you're getting on saving bank is 2% and you're getting 9% in some bond or 10% in some bond, that is high. So please understand the difference between high and what you think is high. Normally people think 18 is high and 10 is still okay. 10 is not okay when SBI is giving you 2% in your savings bank account and 6% in your deposits, right? So it is becoming more and more difficult for people to, so therefore what is happening is people are going into equity. That's fine, but unfortunately or fortunately, from 2008 to 2021 or 22, we are already in 2022, is 13 years plus, or this will be the 14th year when we have not seen a long bear market. So when I tell people that you have not seen a bear market, they say, oh, March to September or March to July of 2020 was a bear market. I am not talking of a 4-month bear market. I am talking of a 6-year bear market, 1996, 97 to 2003. It made people change careers, because they said, oh, now I think the mutual fund industry is finished. There is nothing going to happen in equity. and 2003 to 2007 the market back-ended the returns. If you see from 1996 to 2007, it is not a great return that you got, but unfortunately or fortunately, people look at that from 2003 to 2007, it is a sensational 7 times what you got. Index went up from 3,000 to 21,000 in 4 years. What it didn't do for the last 5-6 years, it suddenly did it in the next 4 years. So remember, right now we are in the middle of a bull run. That last 3-4 years have been very good. So if you take the last 10-12 years, maybe it was not too great, but then remember, last 3-4 years have been very good. So maybe in the total 10 years, starting from say 2017 or 2018 to 2028, if the total returns have been front-ended in the first 4 years, then the next 6 years can be bad. So you have to understand this before you get into equity. So if you're 80 years of age and you're pulling money out of equity funds, that's great. But remember that if the market goes bad, you may not be able to pull it till you're 87 or 88, and that's not very good. So you need to know that you have to have next 10 years expenses somewhere available in a combination of bond plus equity, assuming for a minute that the returns are zero. I mean, ideally you should assume negative, but at least assume zero because of inflation. So real return is going to be zero. So plan your cash flows in such a way that some money comes from the interest, some money comes from the principal. Don't worry too much if it is coming out of the principal, especially after your age of 80. Maybe you need money only for 10-12 years. So it's okay to do a drawdown on your capital. But drawing down on your capital when you're 60 may not make sense because you need money for the next 40 years unless the principal itself is very good. Then you're not really worried about how much you're withdrawing, what is inflation, etc. So if you have an annuity, like if you are in the US, you have social security which will come to you for the rest of your life. If you are in India and your pension will come to you for the rest of your life. So if you have your pension, if you have your interest coming, if you have your systematic withdrawal plan, continue your systematic withdrawal from your equity funds. If you have direct equity, I think it is time to change to mutual funds, especially for 70 or 80, unless you have a younger person handling it, because Phil Fisher made mistakes in his investments beyond the age of 70. That's what Ken Fisher says. So at some stage your ability to manage your own portfolio will go away, and your children may or may not be interested in managing a direct equity portfolio. So then it may make sense for you to go into equity funds, maybe even index funds, and start withdrawing from that. Say after 1 year you start doing a systematic withdrawal plan. Take due consideration whether you want to take your money as an annuity or as a lump sum. So based on all that, you take a decision, and make sure that you don't get confused between income and cash flow. What you require is cash flow. What you think in your head is you require income. You don't require income. A part of your cash flow requirement can come from your principal also. Just remember that. Thank you.